Welcome back to On the Line. It's Tuesday, March 5th, and it's National Indoor Championship Week here at MileSplit. I'm Corey Mull here with Olivia Ekbenet and Ashley Tishins. March is a crazy month full of championship events, from New Balance Nationals Indoor in Boston to Nike Indoor Nationals in New York City. We'll have somewhere in the range of 8,000 to 10,000 athletes competing across just those two events this weekend alone. So it's going to be chaotic, kind of a head rush, thrilling, record-breaking, momentous. We're all here for it. We love it. Yes?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So pumped.
This is the best weekend of indoor for us every year. On today's show, we're going to sit down with an athlete heading to one of those meets. Then we'll review last week's action. We'll go over the Texas A&M Blue Bonnet Invitational. And then we'll put our best into breaking down the top storylines going into those national meets. So get ready for a big blowout show. We got to introduce our girl here with us today. Her name's Maira Scott. She's a high school senior from Holland Springfield in Ohio and a University of Southern California signee who's coming off a big weekend where she was third in the 60 and set a new career best in the 200 in 23.83 seconds, claiming that Ohio indoor state title in the process. She's a two-time outdoor champion in the 1 and the 2 and is headed, I think, to Nike Indoor Nationals this week in New York. Is that correct?
Yes, you're correct.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being with us, Maira. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I think we're great. You
Yes.
great? You great?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Yes.
We're all good. All right.
Amazing.
So Maira, I remember talking to you, I think back in November of last year, right before you signed, and I remember you telling me that after indoor states last year, you had a motivation to really get after it. It's been a year since that moment, and you've done exactly that. You got that title in the 200 indoors this weekend. So how does it all feel like a year off from last year to this year?
Honestly, the same as it was from the very beginning. Going in with the same motives, training very hard, surrounding myself with amazing people, and I'm just very, very thankful for where I'm at and ready for outdoor coming up, and especially Nike this weekend to compete with my friends and have some fun.
Yeah, you should be in contention for a national title there. I want to ask about your teammate, Olivia Pace. You and her train at Ohio Heat. You said to David Wynn that she will be your roommate at USC next year, which is really cool. But over the indoor season, you've been competing with her. She won the 60, you won the 200. Can you describe what it's like to compete against each other and how ultimately that makes you both better?
Olivia's an amazing competitor. Day in and day out, we talk to each other all the time, little conversations here and there. She's actually become one of my best friends throughout this whole process, and that's because of track. It really brought us together, and every time we step on the track with each other, we make each other better. We're always striving to PR, to just do what's set before us, and being with Olivia, like the things I've done, I'd say are a big part of because of her, and she's an amazing friend, and I can't wait to continue this journey with her.
Yeah, I think that's quite amazing to just kind of have that friend in your corner. And as Corey mentioned, like, you guys are teammates at Ohio Heat, but also just looking into the fall, you guys are going to be teammates again. But Maira, I want to kind of take us back a few months, like school starting, you're getting ready to do the fall training to prepare you for indoor and outdoor season. What were your goals going into this season, and how do you feel like things are going for you at the moment?
Honestly, just being consistent is one of the things I very much prioritize. And I've said in interviews before, not chasing times, but really just chasing execution. And I know there's always so much room for me to grow and a lot of stuff to work on. So not being too hard on myself when it comes to pressure, but really enjoying the process and taking my time and trusting those who coach me as well as God.
Mm-hmm. And you've competed in a handful of indoor races this season, from the 60 meters all the way to the 200 as well. What has been the highlight for you, and which meet do you feel like you were able to put everything together and it just kind of clicked?
I'd say for separate races, I'd say the 60, when I was at Michigan's Invitational, my blocks were better that day compared to many others. That's one of the struggles I deal with, and what I'm really trying to work on is cleaning up my blocks and getting out explosively. But when I ran 740 against a bunch of amazing girls in that field. They were some from Texas and all around, many state champions. So when I was able to pull through and come out with a PR there. And I'd also say the 200 that day as well, because it was my first time ever running on a 200 bank track. And at Nike, that'll actually be my second time ever running on one. So I'm just thankful for all these experiences. And I've learned so much from being able to run at these meets and go against all these amazing athletes.
Now, Maira, like you said, you specialize in both that 60 and the 200. You know, you ran 7.4 in the 60, and we also saw you win that state title in the 200 meters this weekend. I'm curious, like, do you enjoy more of that, like, top end speed that you have to have for the 60, or do you like kind of lengthening that out for the 200? Like, which do you enjoy more and why?
Oh, it's 100% the two. Like I said, blocks aren't always my favorite thing, and honestly, the things you struggle with the most, as we know, aren't always everyone's favorite thing. But the 200, I'd say by far, it's been my favorite since the beginning of high school. Just coming around that curve, especially, it gives me time to build up my top speed. And the 200, you need a lot of strength for the last few meters. So being more of a longer sprinter, that's definitely more of my race compared to, say, the 60, which is very technical. And getting out of the blocks is very, very important, but definitely the two.
David asked that question this weekend too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And she was like, watch for the 100 and 200. I'll be a little bit better over the outdoor season. I like that. On that same line of thinking, I guess going into training then, what's your favorite sprint workout? What's your least favorite sprint workout?
My least favorite, we'll start with the bad first. I'd say broken 400s, 450s. I mean, some days, it depends on how I'm feeling that day, but with the girls I run with, we really push each other, so even throughout the reps, there's no slowing down, especially when we're first getting out. There will be practices where Olivia and I are running, and I'm like, girl, like, she gets out really well, so I have to go and chase her, and we compete so much. My favorite, a lot of people might disagree with this. I love hill sprints. Like, hill sprints are fun to me. Ever since I started to do them, I've seen a lot of improvement with my running. So every time we get to the hill, I'm actually very excited.
Follow up to your worst workout. What kind of person are you when you finish a rep? Do you act like you're dead on the ground? Like, what are you, just huffing and puffing? Like, what's your state of mind?
I'm definitely huffing and puffing, but I immediately try to like walk to a wall and put my legs up. And I'm also thinking to myself, I'm really doing this to myself. Like, you have those humbling moments where you're like, wow, but that just makes all the wins so much better.
Yeah. Now, I want to ask you about your brother, William. You told us before you got on the call, he's a fraternal twin of yours. He's a multiple sporter at Holland Springfield. You know, you have a bunch of siblings. I want to ask about the connection that you and him have, because you both play sports within that high school sector. You know, obviously you're continuing your career at USC. I'm sure he sort of has thoughts about it too. What's it been like going through the process with him?
My brother is someone who I look up to so much. He's very wise. So being able to share my accomplishments with him as well as his with mine, we've been able to grow so much of a bigger bond and understanding within each other. And I really couldn't do it without my brother. I talk to him about everything. He's one of my best friends and I love him dearly. So through this process, he's truly helped me and he's amazing.
Now, Maira, I don't know if you know this, but after just seeing what you did last spring, I called you the next Abby Steiner. I was like, this girl, this is her right here. You ran the number 2 all-time marks in the 100 and the 200. You went 11:41 and 23:20. And the only girl that's ahead of you in Ohio history is Abby, and she went 11:38 and 22:73. I know you said you haven't been striving for time, but knowing that you're like that close to potentially surpassing Abby Steiner's 100 meters, and who knows what this 200 could look like for you this spring, is that something that's kind of in the back of your mind? Is that something that you're striving for this spring season?
Oh, that's 100% like with me all the time. Every time I'm on the track, that's something I think about. I talk about it with my mom all the time. I write it down in journals. I remind myself. And really, it's my coach that pushes me to think of the execution and not about times. And when I've done that, I've been able to perform and reach many goals that I didn't know I was capable of doing. So, yeah, that if I all I'm gonna say, if I were to reach that, I'd be crying because Abby is someone who I really look up to. She's amazing, as we all know, and being able to accomplish something that big, especially with the person who holds something like that, it'd be probably one of the best days of my life.
Well, I can definitely tell you, Corey, Ashley, and myself, we're definitely cheering for you because that would be super amazing to watch you do that. And I see you're repping USC. We've been kind of talking about it throughout the course of this interview. So you're going to be a Trojan. What kind of made you make that commitment to USC? What kind of stood out about the program for you?
I'd 100%. A big part of it is the coaching staff. They're amazing people. When I was there, I started to develop a really good connection with them, as well as the athletes that were there. I met many of them, and they just told me about their great experiences and their upbringings and how much fun they've been having. And obviously, it's in California. I mean, the weather's beautiful. It's by the beach. And as we all know, I'm from Ohio, so yes. I don't really get to experience that. The weather's pretty iffy, especially throughout the spring season. It doesn't really get nice here during track season until I'd say late April, May. So when states like Texas and all of them have all that nice sunshine and stuff, we're running in rainy, windy parts. But hey, if anything, that's made me more versatile and helped me develop better, and I can run better in not as good weather. So it's helped me a lot.
Now, you alluded to this at the beginning of our interview here, but you're going to be going to Nike Indoor Nationals, and I'm just curious, what's the goal for you? How do you hope to cap off, your last indoor season in high school?
Obviously, I want to become an All-American. I want a PR. That's always the main goal, is to run better than I did the day before or the meet before. And obviously have fun, building those relationships. I know a lot of my friends are going to be there that are teammates soon to be at USC. Mia Bray Patterson, Rochelle, she's going to be there, and a bunch of other friends I don't get to see in the daily that I communicate throughout the country who are also amazing athletes. So looking to have fun, PR, and get the job done.
Now, follow up to that, from what I can see, and correct me if I'm wrong, you've never ran at an indoor high school national meet before. Is that correct?
No.
So,
yes,
so I guess then, what's your mindset going into that? What are you looking forward to most, finally stepping, onto that national stage for the first time ever in your last season of indoor in high school?
I really would say the Armory. I've heard so many good things about the track, and that it's a fast track and it's amazing. So being able to set foot on that and run on that, I'm really looking forward to that. And the competition. There's going to be so many amazing top athletes from around the U.S. there. So I know I'll definitely be pushed, and I just can't wait for the competition.
All right. Now, we ask our guests we ask all of our guests a version of this question here. We have to know, we've been talking about both indoor and outdoor. As someone from Ohio, do you enjoy indoor track more or outdoor track, and why? I know it's a really tough question, but we have to know the answer.
Definitely outdoor. Definitely outdoor. It's just something about it. I feel like you can breathe more outdoor compared to indoor tracks, because I feel like the air can be pretty dry. Mm-hmm. So you might catch me coughing a little bit at Nike. So, but when I'm outdoor, I feel like I can breathe more. Definitely when the weather's nice in Ohio, it's really fun. And yeah, I mean, it's close to summer, school's out basically, and compared to indoor, definitely outdoor.
It's fair. That's fair. All right. Last question. Just a slice of your life a little bit. You're located in the Toledo, Ohio area. You're from kind of that Toledo region, which is basically on the border of Michigan. What's your favorite thing to do in your hometown and in your city? What's your favorite part of the city?
Oh my gosh. Honestly, like in my free time, if I choose to like go out and have fun, is basically going to the movies or going downtown. I'm a big fan of Mediterranean food, and there's a place called Souk in downtown Toledo. It's really good. So anytime my mom's like, "Do you guys want to go out to eat?" Da, 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 like spoil us girls' night, I choose to go to Souk because I love Mediterranean food and their food's so good. I'm a foodie. I love food.
All
So
right.
any chance I get, I take that.
Fantastic. And then your number one movie right now on your list, what's your number one movie?
This is a hard question. I love horror movies. So like
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
picking a specific one is there's this movie, it's kind of older, that I really love. It's called Silence of the Lambs.
Oh yeah, great
You might
movie.
have heard of it. It's a really good movie.
Making me feel
You
old.
wouldn't probably expect that from like someone my age, but
Yeah.
my dad introduced it to me a while ago, and I actually really like it.
Yeah, great movie.
Uh-huh.
Great movie. I think
Yeah.
it was nominated for
An Oscar.
Yeah, it won some things.
Yeah.
Maira, thank you so much for spending some time with us and talking to us
course.
about your career, your season, and what's upcoming. I really want to thank you. You can log off after the interview, but thank you so much, and we'll see you soon. Okay.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day,
All right,
guys.
yep.
You too.
All right. Maira Scott of Springfield Holland High School in Ohio. Good interview there. Let's move to one thing we loved this weekend. We were all at Blue Bonnet in the College Station, but we're going to veer outside of it for just a moment and spend a second here. Olivia, favorite thing from the weekend, not at Blue Bonnet.
Well, I'm all about records being broken, and we saw a record fall down from Jameer Everett Brown from Wayne in Ohio. He was one of two freshmen in the 60-meter finals at the Ohio Indoor State Championships, and he set a new freshman class record of 6:75 to win the gold there, and he surpassed Tyrese Cooper's national record of 6.78 for that freshman class back in 2016. So along the way, you had Coy Beasley, who was entered as the heavy favorite, had the fifth fastest time in the country, and he ran a 6:72 earlier in February. So the fact that he was able to take down Beasley and run away with a freshman class record, it doesn't get any sweeter than that. So that was the biggest highlight for me.
Just a moment on Beasley. That's his second straight year where he lost by like a hair. He lost last year, surprising, shocking loss.
Yeah.
Here, he would lose. A freshman takes him down, and he's staring at him at the finish line, by the way, too. I got a feel for the guy. I hope he does well at Nike or New Balance because I think he deserves it.
Yes.
So, Ashley.
Now, I think we have a video here to show, but I want to talk about the freshman Paige Shepard out of Union Catholic. This weekend at the New Jersey Meet of Champions, she had a great 200-meter kick to win the 1,600 meter there. She was dueling with senior Emma Zawadzki, and she was able to find another gear with 200 meters to go. And there we go. There's the video here. So you see Shepard just passed Zawadzki there. And I can't get over just like how great and how much speed Shepard has as just a freshman.
And Zawadzki trying to
thoughts?
battle back
Didn't
down
I
the
go over this
backstretch.
last week?
We went over
I know.
this last
I said
week.
if she is in an earshot with 400 meters to go, she's winning the race.
Yeah. And you were correct. You're correct.
I mean,
Shepard
she
holding
can
her off.
hold off however
they come
long
down the
she
front
needs to.
stretch,
It's
Paige
so
Shepard is your
uncanny.
meet
Like
champion.
I honestly think she could go into
gonna be
nationals
filled this time
and
by
maybe
one
surprise.
Surprise people?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, she went 4:48 there for the first time. I know we were all saying like we think she could break 4:50 potentially, and
Yeah.
she did it there. And I mean, I think that shows too. Like if say maybe she pushes it a little bit earlier on and still has that kick, she could go even faster.
Yeah.
Props to Zawadzki because she really sort of tested her.
Yeah.
She really
Yeah.
tried to give her as much as she could. Any thoughts on like the strategy there?
It's interesting because again, I think I talked about this last week. Like I was thinking if Zawadzki's gonna win, she has to push early. I think, and she let her hang around for a little bit. But I mean, that was a great matchup there overall. So good racing.
Yeah, totally agree.
It's gonna be Bell this time.
All right. Well, I'm gonna kind of go over to the nearby state, New York, and my thing to watch from the weekend was Zariel Makia. Did you guys watch this race at all? The 1K.
No, I
No,
missed it.
I didn't see it yet.
It's amazing. I mean, Zariel's working for Cross, which is in March in Serbia, but she's still running a lot over the indoor season. She ran at the New York Indoor State Championships in the 1K, and she was like basically out of it. She was second to last after the first lap, and there were a couple moments during this race where it just felt like she's not going to win. Like she was like her whole feel was like, I'm really fighting for every step here. But I think that's part of her DNA too, because she will not give up. Maybe 150 meters left, there was a small little moment where maybe she's not going to win it, and then she just hits the gear, and she just keeps on the gas. And you can't predict what other people do, which is like interesting. I think that's the way you got to coach people like through these races, because even when you think you're out, you can't predict who's in front of you, what they will do. So if you don't give your all, then you might miss out on an opportunity. And I think she capitalized on it because she never gave up. She ran 2:49.2, which is just a tenth off of her personal best, and she already owned a US 4. So really impressed by her and that motive to win. She's headed to Nike Indoor. She's going to run the 2 mile and the 5K there, and then I think it's full steam ahead at World U20s in Serbia. Let's head over to College Station, where we all descended for the Texas A&M Blue Bonnet Invitational over the weekend. The top moment, hands down, was Jelani Watkins. You both were on the call there. Let's start with that moment. Olivia, we'll go to you first.
Yeah, let's talk about this 100 first, because I was just mind blown. He cranks out. So Ashley and I, we're commentating this, and I'm thinking in the back of my head, I think the meet record was like 10:35. So I was like, 10:40. 10:30, like that's where my mind was at. And to all of a sudden just see him race, cross the finish line, and I see 10:2 on the scoreboard, I was like, there's no way. And of course we're in Texas, so you never know what the wind's gonna do, but it was wind legal 10:22 to just open up the 100. And I know according to our records, like I think that was like he became the third fastest high schooler to run this distance in the month of March. That is absolutely incredible.
Tied for third fastest.
Yeah. So just seeing that in person, I was speechless, honestly, on the mic. I'm just looking at Ashley like, what did we just witness? And then on top of that, he was part of the winning 4x2 that went 1:24.51. But yeah, Jelani Watkins is the real deal.
Ashley?
I mean, he's a beast. Like, what can I say?
Yeah.
I think back to Milrose, when me and Olivia saw him at Milrose, and the way he was able to just get out of the blocks and dominate in the 60. I was just like, all right, can he put together that final 40 and like hold that top end speed for another 40 meters? And I mean, shoot, like he destroyed everyone, and that was a good field too. I mean, you had like Kendrick Jones Jr. in there, you had Caden Durham in there as well. Durham's gonna be Jelani's teammate at LSU next year, so like it wasn't like he was racing necessarily. It wasn't like he was the only stud in the field and everyone else was just, not to that level. Like, he beat some top-tier guys and made it look like it was easy.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, I'm like, shoot, like, who's going to beat him this year? Like, he's my favorite, like, going into every 100-meter race. I think, I know, Corey, you wrote a little kind of write-up analysis on it, and you compared it to how Matthew Bowling started his season when he had that breakthrough season and went 9.98 wind-aided. But, like, maybe that's what we end up seeing from him. I don't know.
I think it's possible. I think in Texas specifically, knowing everything we know about how some of those state postseason races run and wind gauges and all that stuff, there's going to be some interesting legend-esque moments, I think, from him. But I saw something online after he ran this race. It was from Malachi James's father, Troy James, who mentioned that he had studied Jelani Watkins' start from Milrose, the model of which he kind of built his race. And he watched this race, and he watched that race, and he said, it's exactly the same. He was training for the 100.
Yep.
The 60's just sort of built into that already.
It
So
is.
he didn't have any, like, transition that he had to work through. Like, his model was his model. So he came in here, and he had, success in it. That's pretty scary because it means he's ready in March to go that fast. I mentioned those other guys that have run faster in March, but that was at the end of the month.
I see.
So Anthony Schwartz, 10:15 and 10:17 in 2016 and 17. Asama Singa last year, March 31st, he ran 10:10. They were done at the Florida Relays. March 2 for this guy.
Yes.
Crazy to
Wild.
think about. And the guys he's tied with, as you said, in bowling. The other guy is Christian Miller, who is a senior in Florida. He ran the fastest time at 100 meters last year. We don't want to forget about him because he basically is the top guy entering 2024. So I do think I don't see him at a national meet this year. I think he runs Texas and he's done.
Huh.
What are your thoughts? I mean, I just don't see the reason for him because he's got LSU. Like, end your year at States and then move on. And that's even, for me, that's
even more legendary almost
great,
in a way.
yeah.
It's like,
is it not?
Let me drop
pop it
something
off.
huge at Texas
Yes.
State's. Boom, Texas legend. Move
Done.
on.
That's what I would do too.
That'd be
if I
kind of
was
cool.
him.
That'd be kind of epic.
Yeah, because he's already building the viral nature of his race. Like, how crazy is this going online right now?
I mean, Instagram's down, so I can't see how many views it has. But last I checked, we're nearing 1 million views on his reel of his 100, and we have close to 200,000 views on Twitter of just his race. So I mean, this guy, I think people are just there's that aspect of I think he's a track star. He plays football. That obviously that's going to have a factor as well. He's going to a big school like LSU. There's kind of this allure to it, right? It's like there always is when there's when you see someone who is a football recruit, but then can run something really fast in track. Like there's definitely something that, people gravitate to with that.
People are gravitating to it for sure. All right. Besides Jelani, let's all get into something else that kind of stoked our interest here, Olivia.
For me, it was the 110s in the hurdles. My goodness. Mason Dossett versus Jaden Keys. That was one of the highlights for me. The way that Dossett ran that finals, the best way to describe it was he was so poised, patient, and in control. I think our whole mindset was just kind of focused on Jaden Keys. He was very busy at Blue Bonnet. He ran, he was jumping, he was hurling, he was sprinting, all the things. And so Jaden Keys had the better start. He was out so aggressively. It almost looked like he was just going to pull away from the field. But all of a sudden, to his left and closest to Ashley and I, here is Dossett, all of a sudden just hurdling super fast in between the hurdles, and he comes from behind and drops a win legal 13:55 to edge out Keys, who went 13:73. So I think that race was just one of the highlights for me from Blue Bonnet, because it was just well executed from Dossett, and Jaden Keys got out so aggressive. And I think just moving forward, I think Jaden needs to just focus on being quicker over the hurdles, putting his foot down a little bit faster, and then working on those fine-tuned details, and he'll be all set.
They're both in 6A.
Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting matchup for
Yes.
States.
Jaden was 3rd last year. Mason was 7th, I think.
It's interesting, too, because you have Keys who, I would argue that his best event's probably the long jump. I mean, he's consistently been at, the top of the national rankings in the long jump, I believe, last year, and then also already early this year. So it'll be interesting, too, because, I'd love to see this matchup in the 110s if they both run it, at States.
Yeah.
You're right about Keys being busy, though. It's going to impact him because Katie Tompkins does want to go after a team title.
Right.
So it's do you sacrifice maybe your best event? Well, maybe you say I'm gonna cater somewhere else. 300s obviously has a great opportunity there too, but it is an interesting conundrum that he is in because he's so talented.
Yeah.
Ashley, let's go to you.
Let's talk about those relays. We hyped up the boys 4x1 specifically, and then also the 4x2 for I feel like 2 weeks leading up into Blue Bonnet, and I would argue that it kind of lived up to the hype.
It did.
I'll begin first with the 4x2 because that's what happened first on Friday. You had the U.S. number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 performances in this race. I mean, that's just incredible. We saw U.S. number 2 in the previous heat before that last heat where we saw 3, 4, 5, and 6. That was the winning time from Humble Atascocita, 1:24.51. We had Jelani Watkins on the anchor there. That was a pretty epic race. And then moving on to that 4x1, 4 teams under 41 seconds. We knew it was going to be competitive, and it definitely was. Katie Tompkins won in 40:46. As you can see there, they were pretty hyped with that race. And again, I think it's just a testament to these Texas teams are fast, and that's what we expected, and it was definitely a showdown.
Can you comment on the handoffs a little bit with Duncanville? Because I don't think they were really clean.
I also heard they weren't running all their top guns.
their A guys.
Yeah, that's what Will Grundy told me. So maybe that was a factor because I know they were one of those we were thinking, maybe they could probably run away with this potentially. But
it felt like there were a couple little things you obviously need to fix. But
yeah. I was explaining to Ashley, and I think on the air too, if you were listening, especially at the beginning of the year, this is the perfect opportunity for coaches and these athletes to kind of play around with orders and figure out who's going to be where. So that also for Duncanville just could have been part of it too.
Yeah.
We're just trying to figure out who are the top 4 guys, especially when you think about programs like Duncanville that are in depth with a bunch of sprinters. It's all right, there's only 4 that can be on a relay. So let's just see what we get.
Yeah, if you make your way into a team by performing well here.
Right.
And Atascocita did not run the 4x1. They didn't run a team there. And that's one area where they will likely put bodies up through the state run-up. And You got to worry about Watkins and all their depth there. So I don't know. That's going to be a storyline all year long. Whenever Atascocita really gets after it.
Yeah.
We have a chat from Julio Ramirez.
Julio.
And he says that Humboldt Atascocita will be running this Thursday in that 4x1 against Fort Bend Marshall. And he says, who you got?
Well, Fort Bend Marshall's Fort Bend Marshall.
Yeah, Fort Bend Marshall.
I mean, I think they're perennially one of the best teams in the state, 5A, not 6A. So they're not going to face off against these guys. But that is a quick turnover, too, for Atascocita. So
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if what.
We're talking 2 days from now.
I think Atascocita is the best team in Texas.
Yes.
Personally, I do.
I agree.
So who do you got? I got Atascocita in it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm there too.
Okay, that's fair. So Blue Bonnet, 532 elite performances compared to 2022, 252. So double the amount of elite performances, double the entrants. It ended up being a great meet overall, and I think this thing's going to keep building over the years. My one moment, Ben Wright of Austin Lake Travis came from nowhere in the 1600 meter on Friday night to win. We have him. That's in the final 100 meter straightaway. He finally makes his move on everybody and takes them down with a 4:14. That is a 2-second PR on the season, 4-second year over year, and it's only March for him. So got to feel good about that. And I think 1600 meters. I mean, a lot of these guys are just trying to break 4:10 in Texas, trying to get there in that conversation for a state title, and I think he did that. National Indoor Championships are this weekend. We're going to start with a general question, and it's more of an open-ended one because we've seen this over the last several years. It feels like there is a battle happening for registration and influence of athletes. It's an interesting question. What do we make of where National Indoor Championships are going as far as everything that's happening around them? New Balance, Nike. Ashley, we'll go to you first.
I guess I'll start. Like, I think back to when I was in high school, which was like that 2015 to 2019 period, like New Balance, that was like the only place you would be going if you're going to New Balance indoors. Like that's the place you're going. Like, I think for a long time, I feel like they dominated that space. But now I feel like this year specifically, we're in this newer area where you have these two companies competing, New Balance and you enter Nike, and they're trying to find these creative ways to basically solidify entrance, get that registration, obviously make more money that way, like draw those kids in and make it an experience for them. Like you have New Balance who's quote unquote citing, I'll put in air quotes, NIL deals. It's really just a way to, I think, to get a lot of these top high school athletes to be locked in for New Balance Indoor Nationals. But then you have Nike as well. They created their Nike Elite program. And so all these athletes, or most of those athletes, will be then competing at Nike Indoor Nationals. And so, again, I think it's interesting because it's like, realistically, track and field is not a sport that's going to be making a lot of money, right? Like it's just not a huge, part of that sports market. But you do have these companies just battling, trying to compete for that small share of that market. And again, the more kids you have, I mean, the more money you're making. And
there is money in the sport. It's just by comparison's sake, it's different.
It's different.
You can't compare it to football, basketball because
Yeah.
of just the market share. But Olivia.
I agree with Ashley completely. I remember, now for me in high school, that was like 2008, 2011. And for me, I remember the backpacks. Like that's what drew you in the door. During indoor, our team went to Nike Indoor. And then for outdoor, I believe we went to New Balance. Everything, it was just kind of, those were the two places you've gone. Now, from the outside now that I've retired from the sport and I cover it, like I look at what New Balance has done, and I'm only speaking for New Balance because I have never been to Nike as like what I do now. But New Balance knows how to put on a great meet. It's incredible. You can tell the kids are having a blast, the fireworks, the energy, it's there. And so I feel like just reflecting on how much has changed since I was in high school, right? You start with the backpacks. That's what the kids love. But like Ashley kind of alluded to, things needed to change to kind of pull and grab these kids in different directions. So, of course, as Ashley mentioned, we have the NIL deals, the Nike Elite program, which has attracted a lot of those athletes into the different meets. And then, of course, we have Sadie on our screen now. Like, all of a sudden, 2 years ago, I'm seeing, like, the customized kits for New Balance. And so that was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, some of the events had their own, gear. And then eventually we're just seeing NIL deals coming out. Mia was the first one in July. Then the Nike Elite program, literally a week or so later, signs 40 athletes. The New Balance, I feel like, had to respond in a way and was like, well, we need to think of something. So let's just get NIL deals together. So it's like they're pulling from all these different areas to try to bring the top of the top athletes to their meet. But they had to do something, right? Like, it's more than just the backpack at this point.
This started in 2020 when New Balance ended the contract of NSAF, who ran their meets for 10 years. There was a 10-year contract in place, and New Balance was the presenting sponsor of NSAF's meet, but ostensibly it was by name itself. Everyone just saw that it was a New Balance meet.
Yeah.
So they got all the credit. NSAF did not. They broke off. NSAF partner with Nike, and then they create two factions. And I think part of it is like this struggle trying to reintegrate yourself with this meet you've always put on, and you don't want to lose the people that you built, but those people thought it was New Balance in the first place. So I think that's where the battle lies in itself. New Balance, as a company, decided that they could put on a meet themselves.
Yeah.
And they didn't need NSAF, so they created this, and they can. They had a massive meet last year. It was incredible. They have done that. They've partnered with Track is Back or what was it, Trials of Miles? They partnered with Trials of Miles to put on the meet, which kind of is where NSAF found themselves, for that 10-year partnership. Trials of Miles is that placeholder now. So we are battling, but there are these organizations around them that are kind of the puppeteers in some ways. Like, they're creating sort of what's happening, and there is money in these meets. And I think it's something that people don't often talk about, but it matters because, the people who get caught in the middle are the athletes that you're trying to sign and the families. Like, I don't know if you can make it just a very happy-go-lucky sort of situation where it's like, if you want to sign there, go sign there. If you want to sign with us. There is naturally going to be some competition between each.
Sorry, not to.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's just crazy to think that, these are high schoolers that we're competing over to come to these meets, right? It is weird to think about. But then you think about sports like basketball, football. I mean, it's cutthroat too in a lot of those areas, especially that grassroots level. So it's like, is it really any different than any other high school sport at that highest level? Probably not. It's not.
And I think we'll see it continue to evolve over the next couple of years as these two kind of build their investments and they try to kind of create a bigger share. So next question is an easy one, and it's a less broad one. How many national records will we see at the National Indoor Championships this weekend in Boston and New York City? Olivia.
I'm going with 3 easily. Not going to be surprised.
Between each. 3 total.
3 total. However, I have 2 that I'm on the cuff because it all depends. Okay. The 3 that I'm not going to be surprised if this goes down. The boys 4x2. Bullis has it right now. The Bullis School has it right now with the 125.60. Archbishop Carroll has already run a 125.79. It's just putting it all together. Everyone needs to have great handoffs. So if it happens, I think Archbishop Carroll could be that program that does it. The girls 4x2. The Bullis School has it 134.75. Mountain Verde already went 134.78. Someone just has to dive for the finish line. Okay. 4x4, we've already seen it go now. Mount Verde Academy has it 337.63. Now, my 2 hard maybes, and I feel the tension in the room rising about this one, but I feel potentially, again, Drew Griffith, there's been a lot of conversation around this with the 2 mile. He's running at New Balance National Indoors. He went 8:38 on an oversized track at the Alex Wilson Invitational, and now he has an opportunity to potentially do it again.
Well, obviously, make it official.
Yeah, make it official. Make it official. But again, we've talked about this multiple times when it comes to distance events, that it depends on how this race is going to be run. Is it going to be tactical from the start, or is Drew just going to say, screw it, I'm just going to go all in and put it all out there? So that's why I'm if it happens, this is Drew doing exactly what he did at Alex Wilson Invitational and is just going all in. I don't care about being tactical. We're all in.
Well, they have the pace lights at New Balance.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, if they have those pace lights set at national record,
yeah,
boom, there you go.
Yeah, so they can see if they're off or not and
right.
go for it. Armory doesn't have pace lights, right?
Not that I
No.
know.
Yeah,
no.
I don't think so.
I think that will help. I think
Yeah.
ultimately, I mean, yeah, it depends. Who knows if it's going to happen or not? Did you talk about the other one too?
No, not yet.
Okay.
The other one, I feel like, boom, if it happens, I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. The girls 60, we saw Shanti Jackson get last year's 716. I feel like 2 athletes could potentially do that. I'm going to add a third. Adeja Hodge, I feel like could do it. Mackenzie Travis could do it. And I'm also going to put an Avery Lewis into this conversation. I feel like with these ladies going 7-2 and now we're at that final moment, I feel like something could spark in this event.
I
But I
think,
don't know. That's like my wild card right
I think it's Hodge or
What about
nobody.
like Mia? Looks like she's running at Nike as well.
Yeah.
So
Oh, she's in it?
She is entered at Nike.
Oh, I didn't
so-
see her name on
Yeah.
the entry
yeah.
list.
So don't forget her there.
But
So,
for
ooh,
me,
I don't know.
I think it's Hodge or nobody.
yeah, I
Roger,
agree.
nobody?
I would agree too. Yeah,
Interesting.
I
Okay.
agree. This is her year if she wants to go for it. So.
All right, Ashley, what about yourself?
All right, Livia, I like the relays you outlined there. I think those are definitely 3. I'm going to be like, all right, those like seem like decent locks. Like if we're going to see a national record, we could see it in those 2 4x2s, maybe that 4x4 as well, since it's already been broken this year. Maybe add a distance relay in there. I'm looking at that 4x-mile,
Yes,
especially
yes,
at New Balance.
yes.
I really like flower mounds there, and I'm like really excited to see what they do. Maybe add the DMR in there as well, because the DMR stacked, it looks like you have Union Catholic flower mound as well in that, so that could be interesting. Again, maybe that girls 60, again, it's got to be Hodge that does that, I think. Maybe that boys 5K. I know Daniel Simmons is trying to go after something fast, and we saw what he ran last year. He ran sub 14 last year, so we could definitely see him go after Tyrone Gorsey's record that he set there last year. I like that. Corey, I know you wrote down this event, so I won't steal it, but I like one of your picks too as well.
Go
at Nike.
for it.
The girls 5K.
Yeah,
Leachman. I think Leachman could do it.
I think, yes, I believe in Leachman to break 5K.
I mean, we've seen how she's been just like racking off like sub 950s in the 3200 like it's nothing. And I mean, sure, that's outdoors, but like I think the longer she goes, the faster she gets and the better she does. And so I think we could definitely see that record go down there. So all in all, I think in the end I said like 4 definitely, but I think there are plenty of others that are in conversation as well.
Yeah, and I won't speak too much of what you guys already said. I think the relays on that side, we're going to miss on some because I don't think you can get every record on the sprint side. So
Right.
I'm only going to go with the girls 4x4. I think they break it again. 4x-mile, I think Flower Mound does that. Boys 2-mile, I'm willing to say somebody grabs the boys 2-mile national record. Boys 5K, I think that's going down. And girls 5K with Leachman, I think that's going down. So I have 5 in total, 1 at Nike, 4 at New Balance.
So we're kind of in agreement there.
Yeah.
See.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Next up, we're going to pick an event at each national championship. Each of us will go into it in depth, and then we'll have a little conversation around it, and then we will move on. Let's start first with Nike Indoor Nationals. Ashley, you are up first here.
All right, I know we just talked a little about the girls 5K there, but the girls 2-mile is also going to be really interesting, I think. Looking at the start list, I think the athlete that really stands out to me here is you're going to have Jane Hendegren in this race. We haven't seen a lot of her. I know she got injured during cross-country season, but in like the one race she's done this season, which was at the Simplot Games, she ran 10:02 for 3,200 meters, and that is at elevation. So you convert that down, and I believe that converts down to sub 950, I believe, or around 950. So that's really intriguing to me. I'm like, gosh, like what are we going to see her do then on a banked track like the Armory at sea level? And she's not going to be alone in this race either. She's going to have Elizabeth Leachman, which I know she's kind of focusing on that 5K there. I believe she told us that a couple weeks ago, but nonetheless, she's entered there. You're also going to have Emily Wisniewski out of Oregon. And then Sophia Rodriguez, the star freshman. I know she clocked 10:20, I believe, at this race last year as an 8th grader. So that's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. And again, I'm just really intrigued by how Jane Hendegren's going to do.
Yeah, 3 of those girls ran Woodbridge in the fall.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hedengren, Leachman, Wisniewski was kind of the odd man out there, but I think she's made herself up.
In there, yes.
I don't know if she competes. I think it's Hedengren, Leachman
Yeah.
Yes.
in the end, as it was in
At
Woodbridge.
Yes.
Woodbridge, yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I predict it coming out too.
And with the 5K, I think Leachman has it. Like, I would be willing to bet everything on her winning that. With here, I think she's competitive enough that she will want to compete with Hedengren. So I think it's going to sort of be that strategic duel
Yeah.
of who comes out on top at the end. I don't know if it necessarily goes super national record fast. Like 9:38 is the record in the 2-mile for Mary Kane, I think, right?
Sounds right.
I don't know if we get 9:38 fast, but I do think they'll break 10, and it's going to come down to the wire.
Yeah.
Do you agree there?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I agree with Ashley, too. I feel like with Jane and Emily just having very light indoor seasons so far, it's just, I'm curious about how this race is going to play out, just because we know Jane has been injured. Emily hasn't competed, I don't believe, since like NXN. So it's just like, let's go out there and run. And then I'm excited to see what Sofia Rodriguez is going to do here. She's had wonderful opportunities as a middle schooler to set all-time marks and, world age group records. And now that she's a high school, talented individual, she's going to really line up with a lot of great talented people. So, but I completely agree with how I think this race is going to turn out. It's going to be Leachman and Hedegren just battling it out.
All right, go to your event. What do you got?
All right, my event is completely stacked, and this is the boys 400 meters. You have 5 boys that are ranked in the top 8 in the nation going to be battling it out at the Armory. You're going to have Hudson Elaine, who's number 3 in the nation, 47.17. Kiari Thompson, he's gone 47.38. Adi Lloyd, who had that super spectacular performance at the Pennsylvania State Championships, 47.41. Hayden Horton Mims, finishing up second in that race, 47.49. And our guy, Jonathan Sims, 47.60. He will be contesting in that as well. I'm really curious about how Zy Ricks is going to do. I'm going to put him in as one of those people that I'm like, okay, I'm going to be keeping my eyes out for him. This is his event debut. He's gone 33.85 in the 300 meters and 117 in the 600. So I think it's going to be a really great matchup. But I think if I had to choose right now who I think the top 3 are going to be, I think it's going to be Adi Lloyd, Jaden Horton Mims, or Jonathan Sims.
A D Lloyd, you guys, are you in the
I'm
same?
an D Lloyd fan at this
great
point.
race. I'm not gonna knock him, but he was benefited by a couple factors there.
Yeah.
I think he runs well. I think he gets into the final.
Yes.
I don't have him in the top 3 though.
You don't have him in the top 3?
No.
We all know who I'm going to pick here as my winner.
Yeah.
We all know.
Sims, my guy Sims. We have
Yes.
to go Johnny Sims here. Like, sure, he lost in that 600 to Jaden Merchant and Quincy Wilson at Millrose, but he still ran a good race. Like, that was only his second indoor race of the season, and I would argue that he probably is in more of 400 shape right now rather than like that more endurance-based like 4.8 shape. So like, I think the 400 could suit him really well here. We've seen him gone 45.12 at his peak during outdoor. So I think here it's like, where in the 46s can he go? And if he gets like, again, when I think back to that 600, like that guy got out like a rocket. He really only started fading until about 500 meters to go. So like, you just put together that same, like a little bit faster on that, the first little bit and then just hold it through 400. Like, I think he has it. I think Jaden Horton Mims also presents an interesting storyline because I think maybe he'll be looking for a little bit of revenge here after getting second at his state meet, but I'm going all Mims.
Yeah.
Not Mims, Sims.
Sims does have a tough prelim with Jalen Santiago of Fordham Prep. Very good runner. He's run 300s and 600s himself. So it's based on time, right, to get into the final. Right. So Sims is fine, but he's going to have a matchup there in the prelim that's going to be pretty good. I have Jonathan Sims, 45.97, taking the win at Nike.
What?
So close to the national record.
Yeah, I'm
I like it. I like it.
45.97.
Skipping a whole second?
Speak it into existence.
45.97.
We can manifest it all day. I'm just
45,
surprised we're thinking
97.
that. 45?
I would be out of my chair.
He doesn't. I think he comes in here with a lot of, like, it's mysterious in some ways, and that's good. He runs in here without like a lot of expectations and experience. Sometimes you can kill it when you don't have those preconceived notions of what I need to do, right? He's running on feel and instinct. So that's what I'm going with here, I think. And he's a gamer. We've seen it.
A freaking gamer.
45.97. The only way something gets in the way is if somebody really fights him from the break at the rail and it gets kind of physical and it takes him out, which is possible because we've seen it with Horton Mims.
How Ashley was like, it's only a matter where in the 46 is he going to go? And then you're like 45.9.
I'm going 45.97.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. So 0.05 off the national record.
Yes.
Oh, man. I would be so upset.
All right.
Being that close and just missing it.
All right, so we got 2 mile on the girls, 400 on the guys. My race to watch will be the girls 5K. National records 15:37:12, held by Caitlin Tui. Ran that in 2018. Meet record here is 15:55. That was run by Brie Oakley in 2017. Leachman, hasn't run a outdoor track 5K or an indoor track 5K, but she's run multiple outdoor 3,200 meter national records, and we know for a fact she can hold pace better than anyone right now. I think she's the girl who can go after it. Now, we saw Ellie Shea run the 5K last year at New Balance, and she was going for it as well. She was on pace. That her struggle was toward the end of the race as the laps kind of counted down. I think she ended up with like a 15:47. She got close, but she wasn't exactly there. So it really will be dependent on how she gets through the first 2 miles and then how she feels after that. So, I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of energy in the, the armory. I think there's going to be people pulling for her, and I think she's capable. So I'm going to say yes on this.
Yeah.
Yes to
The national record.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she already took down two. He's outdoor 32, who like bettered it multiple times. So like, heck yeah, I'm gonna say she's gonna break this record again. Like the longer she goes, I feel like she gets better. I mean, we've seen the pictures of her like smiling and giving a thumbs up en route to like a national record. So like, I'm like she has it all put together right now, I think.
Olivia's thinking.
Olivia, no, you can't doubt our girl.
I'm not doubting her capabilities at all. I think the notes that I have down here is like we've known Leachman has come to the realization how much she's grown. And I applaud her for that. And it just shows the maturity that she has. And I think she's going to go so far in the sport. She's realizing that she can't run all the races the same way. When our girl Elizabeth Leachman is on a mindset of just going all in, she's on fire, like complete on fire. She runs freely, I feel like. And then sometimes, like when we get to these national competitions, right? Not, I'm just thinking about NXN and then also at the other indoor meet that she competed in. It's just sometimes the tactics don't work. So my question is she going for this national record or is she just going to grab this win? Because I feel like
I think it's record. I think it's record. Like
I think it's all or bust. I get it. What she has said, she has to race differently, but
yeah.
For this,
it's
she's racing
it's her
way.
race.
Yeah,
it's her race.
Her way.
Yeah. Because think about it too. Like, I know we keep talking about the NXN race, but like you at that point you have to throw time and all that out the window. Like, right. I mean, I was like almost slipping in the mud out on the course, so I can only imagine what the athletes are feeling there.
Yeah.
Like, this is a track 5K. Like if you just lock into a pace, and I know she can lock into a pace. I think she can do it. Like I think she's a really good track racer.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
What's the Prefontaine quote? To give anything less is it to sacrifice the gift, right?
Yeah. Come
So-
on. Yeah.
I'm all for the national record. I would not be surprised. Like if you were to text me and be like it went down, I'd be like, cool.
You're only gonna say cool.
I'll say cool.
No,
You're
I'll be
only gonna
like,
say cool.
Woo!
I know y'all are going to be
Celebration
following
emoji
it.
too.
Okay, we're going to move to New Balance Nationals Indoor. The annual national championship is back in Boston this year. Only it's split between the Reggie Lewis Track and Field Center and the track at New Balance on the last day and the first day. The meet goes from Thursday through Sunday. Same plan here. We're going to each give our events to watch, and then we'll discuss them equally. Olivia, let's go to you first.
Well, this is my popcorn moment. This race, the boys 200 meters. I am so pumped because it's just like you have the top of the nation. There's 4 boys ranked in the top 7. There's some that are right outside there. And Kane Stanley of IMG Academy, I feel like is going to be...
He's got to prove himself.
Yeah.
Got to prove himself now.
You hear that, Kane? Coming from Corey. Number 2 in the nation, 21:04. Then you're going to have Jaden Wiley of Atlanta Zoom. Number 3, 21:15. Of course, my guy Nick Spikes from Paint Branch, number 5 in the nation right now, 21:20. And then Johnny Dwyer from New Jersey has gone 21:25. We have 4 boys right now that are within 0.2 of a second who could potentially grab the victory here. Then just outside of that, you have Tate Taylor, who's gone 21:48. Jake O'Day Jordan from Archbishop Carroll, he's gone 21:49, number 16 in the nation. Mm-hmm. So I think my biggest question is, are we going to see any boys dip under 21 seconds? Because there's only been 18 in history who have done that. I feel like Kane is on the bridge of it. Potentially Wiley. I feel like Spikes is going to get close to it. So I'm just looking for this 20 point. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I can see it happen.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah, I agree. Like I think if if anyone can dip under 21, I definitely think it's Kane Stanley, just how we've seen him race. Like, we saw him run at Millrose, and he ran a spectacular race there in the 300. So he's my favorite here to win this race. He hasn't shown me any reason not to doubt him in this race, especially when you look at the rest of the start list, I think. I do like Jaden Wiley. Like, I think he can make a strong push for second, but I do expect Stanley to win this race. I mean, he's gone head-to-toe with people like Quincy Wilson and not back down. So
Yeah, Jaden was really hot early on. We kind of have missed him over the last couple of months, so this is a good opportunity for him to kind of come back into the conversation. And I highlighted this. Jake Odie-Jordan, I think, is one of the premier young sprinters in the country. So I don't think he wins, but I think he makes a name for himself here, and it kind of bookends him toward the end of the season too.
Right, I agree.
So, Ashley, let's go to your event.
All right, I know we talked earlier about the girls 4x-mile potentially being a national record watch event, but I want to talk about this girls DMR for a second, because if you're looking at the teams towing the line, it's going to be very interesting. You're going to have Flower Mound, Union Catholic, Cuthbertson, Saratoga Springs, I believe, as well. And like, those are some of the top, mid-distance programs in the entire country. And specifically in this race, I'm keeping my eyes on Flower Mound and Union Catholic. Union Catholic, I know we showed Paige Shepard earlier in this show, a race that she had this past weekend, but like, Union Catholic has such great depth at the mid-distance. I mean, they have her, Peyton Hollis, like, you could go on and on. We saw them almost break the 4x8 outdoor national record at Penn Relays last year. And so, I think they really could lead this team to a big effort. I believe they finished second in this event last year to Cuthbertson. But I'm really excited, I think, for Flower Mound. I think they could challenge that national record in the 4x-mile, but also go for something big here in the DMR, because you got Sam Humphreys, Alex Fox. Maybe you put Nicole on here, but you probably don't even need her. Adeline Bennett, and then you move up probably a 400 runner. So I think they could win this year. Like, I think I'm really sold on Sam Humphreys this year. Like, seeing her in-person workout and just dial in on the paces, like, I think she's going to be key for this team. So if you have her on one of these legs, and so I think they could, have some speed to run a huge effort here.
I think they are tailor-made for it, but I think Union Catholic has all the pieces to win. And they're built for it, specifically with the combination of sprints and then distance. It'll be hard to beat them with everybody they can work into the lineup. They have so many options. I think Flower Mound, if you have maybe one extra option and you can insert them, but beyond that, it's like you got to stick to those girls. Union Catholic, you could probably pick from like 6-8 girls.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you're running other events over the course of 4 days, that you're going to have to use them. And the fact that you can trust them to run these high-stakes races and get you the win speaks to their depth. So I'm going with Union Catholic just because, man, if you give either Peyton Hollis or Paige Shepard the handoff in the final anchor, I think they win. Yeah, I think they win.
I agree with Corey on this one. I think Union Catholic, just the depth that they have right now, and the girls that are somewhat very similar in time, they can pretty much be put on any leg and can do amazing things. They're currently 11th right now in the nation with the 12:17. I'm not going to count out Saratoga Springs either, because they just have the history of just putting together strong distance performances, whether it's the 4x-mile or the DMR. They're number 2 in the nation. But if I was like, all right, Liv, you need to make this decision right now, I'm going with Union Catholic.
Okay.
They just have the depth, I feel like.
2 Union Catholic. You go Flower Mound on this?
I mean, I'll go Union Catholic.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Last but not least, we're going to go with the girls 800. This is my pick. We have Sadie Engelhart, Paige Shepard, Jordan Bray, Isabel Koenig de Frankenberg, Nicole Humphreys, Allie Ince, Kaylee Littlefield, and Elise Wimes are among those entered in this race. I do think Nicole will be ready to run. She ran 2:14 January 29th. So I think obviously she's coming back from something, but I trust her. But Sadie, Isabel, Allie Ince, I think those are the 3 that kind of stand out just off the jump. What are they able to do? That will be the big question. Isabel, in my mind, can run anywhere from like 2:10 to like 2:04. So it kind of depends on the race itself. Mm-hmm. I think Sadie, for me, is her floor is 2:06. Her ceiling is 2:01 or 2:02. And then I think the same for Allie Ince. I think 2:06, 2:08 is her floor. Her ceiling can be as high as 2:02. So, I mean, we know the 800 can always offer just chaos. So it depends on that opening stretch, how you enter the break and how you fight for position. But Sadie is probably the closest you get to just an outright favorite on this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we're going to throw Paige Shepard into the
Okay.
into
do
this
it.
too, because we saw the race video earlier. We talked about her last week. Homegirl got some foot speed, and I know her best right now is a 209, but I feel like when you're at these national championships and you're not worried about like scoring points for your team and like running all of these events at the state championships, you can kind of just like focus on some individual things and contribute in different ways on the relay. I think we can see Paige Shepard drop something really fast here.
Not opposed
Be in
to
the
it.
mix.
As a freshman, though, you
Yes.
think what is drop fast? What is the ceiling then as a freshman?
I think for not to put her in a box, but I think like maybe 207.
That's not going to win.
20. No, I'm
That's not gonna
saying
win.
for like I'm saying for like Shepard and what I think she could potentially put together. To win this, it's probably going to take like a 20.
4.
Yeah, I was thinking 205.
I would even argue maybe 203 if we see something really
Yeah,
crazy.
I
I
agree.
Yeah.
I think that the interesting athlete here to me is Sadie. Like, I mean, we don't see her run that 800
Yeah.
very often. And, like, we saw her run the 1K at Boston and, like, get kind of close to that national record. So it's like she has the speed. Like, we know she is such a strong miler, but I'm so excited to see her drop down to the 800. And, I mean, shoot, if she wants to go all out, like, I'll say she goes 202 and wins this. So
Love it. You two are going to be at New Balance and NCAAs.
Yes.
I'll be
Yes.
in New York for Nike Indoor Nationals. We have one more segment we want to get to. Which high school and national championship will have better performances? Olivia.
Oh man, I was hoping you'd ask Ashley first. I think when I filled out my notes, this was before all the Nike entries were like officially published. Now looking through it, I think it's going to be split. There's going to be great athletes at Nike and there's going to be great athletes at New Balance, but I think just because I'm going to be at New Balance, I'm going to say it's going to be New Balance. I've been to this meet for the last 2 years. This is year number 3. I have not been disappointed.
Yeah.
Super magical. Just the venue, once they get to, the track, is just going to be incredible. And it's just a high caliber of a meet. And I'm spoiled at this point. So, and again, I've never been to Nike, so I have nothing to compare it to. But I'm going to say New Balance because
All
I'm
right.
going there.
That's hey, can't lose there.
I'll second that for Olivia. Like, I think both meets will be great, but, like, I think as we saw last year, there may be something just special to the track at New Balance. Like, it's a new track, and we just saw how these athletes went after it there, I think. Like, I think it was, I mean, I was watching that one from afar, but, like, the whole time I was just engaged. I was engaged with the stream the entire time. So, and especially when you look at, I think, some of those relays and, you add some of that in there as well, I think it'll make it a really cool meet.
I think Nike made up ground this year. There's no doubt about it. They made up a lot of ground. They got some stars. They signed them. So Nike's going to be a much better meet. I mean, it was good last year, but it didn't compete with New Balance.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
This year, I think it competes with them. The way we judge and, evaluate these meets is how many records came out of them. I still think that the records are going to, like, a lot of them will be relay based, and New Balance has stronger relays. So if we're looking directly at times and performances, it's New Balance, but I think Nike is closing the gap. And in time, we're going to keep having this conversation. I think they're closing the gap. So it'll be fun. We're both heading there this weekend, and we'll have more coverage on the ground wherever you need us to be. MileSplit's going to be there. So make sure to stay hi.
Say hi.
Yes, please.
You listen to the podcast, so
everyone.
you've seen us do content. Just make sure to say hi. We're friendly. We will see you this weekend. Thank you so much for watching our show. As always, it's been a pleasure, and we will be back next Tuesday for you on the line. Take care.